I did not think my return to YouTube would be me having to talk about a topic that should just be common sense at this point, but here we are. Hey guys, it's Kimberly. So where to begin? I'm back and I'm gonna be filming a Get Ready With Me while I also speak about Black Lives Matter. So originally for this Get Ready With Me, I was going to talk about Black Lives Matter, and then I was going to switch the focus to my first year of college and my plans for this channel. But given the current climate we are in and just life in general, I just don't feel like that would be appropriate. So I'm mainly only going to be talking, I'm only going to be talking about Black Lives Matter and the Black Lives Matter movement. I will probably talk about my first year of college and my future plans for this channel in another video, but right now we need to focus on Black Lives Matter. Just no ifs, ands, or buts, like we have to. So I have my phone right here. I'm going to be referring to it multiple times throughout this video, so there will be a lot of jump cut. I may even keep in when I do look at my phone to read things off of my screen, but I'm also going to be doing my makeup because I feel like if I just talked about Black Lives Matter, I would spiral. So I'm gonna do something that makes me happy while I talk about Black Lives Matter, which is my makeup, because I haven't gotten to do my makeup in a really long time, and I finally have all my makeup from campus. If you're someone who has a very short attention span like yours truly, the little gear icon, I don't know which side of the screen it's on, you can speed up the video, but I really want you to listen to everything I have to say, so I would really appreciate it if you watched the entire video sped up or not. So I'm gonna start doing my makeup and also talking about Black Lives Matter. So if you looked at my community page, or community tab, which I know half of y'all did not, because who actually reads on the community tab? I originally decided to continue my hiatus on YouTube, but now, as you can see from this video, I'm back, so I'm not gonna take that hiatus anymore. So I'm gonna actually read my community tab post, because like I said, I know none of y'all read it. I'm gonna explain why my line of thinking when I wrote this only a week ago was not good enough reasoning. So I wrote, so as all of you are probably aware, right now in America there are mass protests occurring, and they are still going on even a week later. They're still going on, just social media is not showing them as much. This was spurred on by the unjust killing of George Floyd by the police. To be quite honest, this public reaction was long overdue, especially since George Floyd is not the first black man to be unjustly killed by the police. As you can probably tell, I'm upset and angry, and as a result, I'm going to be quite frank with you guys. If you do not support Black Lives Matter, please unsubscribe. At a time like this, it is not okay to be neutral. Racism is not a topic where you can remain neutral. Either you're anti-racism or you are a racist, point blank period. As Desmond Tutu said, if you're neutral in situations of injustice, then you have chosen the side of the oppressor. And to those influencers who are choosing to remain silent or just posting a black square on your Instagram without doing anything else, I see you. And I encourage all of you to look up the influencers you follow and see whether their moral compass aligns with yours. And then later on in the post, I said, finally in my last community post, I said how I would be posting on YouTube once I had my belongings from campus. My camera and my hard drive are in my possession now, but given the current climate, I do not feel comfortable making videos, especially because my videos are not monetized and I cannot donate the revenue of my videos to the Black Lives Matter movement. So that was the main gist of my community tab post. So why I disagree with that post that I made, and I'm gonna keep it up because I did make some points in the post, but why am I back? Why am I making a video? Why am I talking? Just because I'm not making revenue on my videos, just because my videos are not monetized, does not mean that I shouldn't post about something that has such social importance in our society today, which has always had importance in society, but for some reason finally in the year 2020, everyone is deciding, not everyone, but it seems like the collective majority, at least on social media, has finally come to terms with understanding what the Black Lives Matter movement is, and more people are actually talking about it. And as a black woman in America, I'm 19 years old, I am black, and I may not be African American because, as you can see from my bracelet, I am Kenyan. I was born in Kenya. Just because I am African doesn't mean that these things don't affect me. A police officer isn't gonna look at me. A police officer isn't gonna look at me or my siblings or my parents even and be like, oh, you're African, so we're gonna leave you alone. We're black in their eyes. It doesn't matter where we're from. So that's why I feel like my decision to not post, just because, at least on YouTube, because I've been very active on my Instagram. I've been posting information. I have the blacklivesmatter.card.co linked in my bio. I will also leave a bunch of resources linked down below in the description, because even though it is not my responsibility to educate you, because it is the year 2020 and we have so many resources at our disposal, so if you are ignorant in this year, it is because you're choosing to be ignorant, and I stand by that statement. But I will leave links down below because I want to make it as easy as possible for you guys to find these resources, because Black Lives Matter isn't a trend, which is actually my next focal point in this video. I have a love-hate relationship with the fact that Black Lives Matter has become trendy. I remember Black Lives Matter starting, I think, when Michael Brown was murdered by the police in Minneapolis, in Missouri. And I just remember how controversial saying Black Lives Matter was back then. And it makes me so happy that finally people are understanding why we say Black Lives Matter instead of All Lives Matter or Blue Lives Matter, which that's a whole nother. If you say Blue Lives Matter, we have issue. I have an issue with you, right? I remember very few people that I was friends with agreed or like even spoke about, not even agreeing, but like even spoke about the killing of George Floyd, and very few even said Black Lives Matter. I went to a very diverse high school and middle school, because I think it happened, Michael Brown was killed, I think, when I was either starting or finishing 8th grade, I believe. I'll fact check that on the screen. But yeah, with that said, the Black Lives Matter movement got a lot of hate. It was met with All Lives Matter, which All Lives Matter is probably, yes, All Lives Matter, but right now we are focusing on Black lives that are being taken by the police because they can't do their jobs correctly. So it makes me happy that now finally people are proclaiming essentially that Black Lives Matter. But why did it take so long? Like, why did it finally take the murder of another black man, George Floyd, and many others, Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery, who wasn't killed by the police, he was killed by essentially vigilante police. Why did it take the killing of so many more people for people to finally open their eyes and understand the Black Lives Matter movement? That's my issue, and I know a lot of other people's issues with the fact that Black Lives Matter is trendy now. Part of the reason it's trendy now is because more celebrities are speaking up about it, whether it's genuine or because their PR person is telling them, hey, you're gonna lose subscribers, you're gonna lose money, essentially, if you don't say that Black Lives Matter. Like the NFL. When I saw their post on Twitter where they were like, we stand with Black Lives Matter, I just looked at that post and I was like, but weren't you the ones who did not stand or kneel with Colin Kaepernick when he was kneeling during the national anthem? Weren't you the one who ended up getting this man fired for peacefully protesting? If we protest peacefully, you have an issue. If we're protesting violently, you have an issue. No matter what is done, there is an issue. So the fact that the NFL said that, your actions do not back up that statement. I know your PR person told you guys you had to say that. I don't even watch football like that. But just that rubbed me the wrong way. And that's why I have a love-hate relationship with the Black Lives Matter movement. People who, yes, people can grow, right? But companies and people who have shown no reason that they actually care about black people are making these statements now. And it baffles me. I'm not even gonna, like, I'm baffled. I am baffled by that. As far as I'm concerned, as it comes to companies, Ben & Jerry's is the only company whose statement deserves rights. They're the only one who actually back up their words with their actions. Will I have to buy Ben & Jerry's overpriced ice cream for the rest of my life? Possibly. Most likely. Because all these other companies, I don't know what they're saying. Like Starbucks recently, was it yesterday? They were like, they made their statement like, yes, we stand with our black employees, blah, blah, blah. But then their employees aren't allowed to wear anything that's related to Black Lives Matter to work. If 2 + 2 is 4, and 5 + 5 is 10.
What the fuck is this?
And, ending this point off, influencers. I've had to unfollow a lot of influencers because they posted like when the protests first started, like the first through third day of these protests, they would post like Black Lives Matter, and then they go back to promoting their merch. I don't know if you thought a simple Instagram post was enough, but it's not. I need you to post, especially because on my Instagram, because I don't have that many followers, I can't do the swipe up thing. So all I can really do is have the blacklivesmatter.card.co in my bio and hope people click on that link. But when you're an influencer that has 100K plus followers on Instagram and you can use the swipe up button, why aren't we linking to petitions? Why aren't we linking to resources so people can educate themselves? Why are we posting Black Lives Matter and then, oh, here's my merch? That just doesn't sit right with me, and as a result, like I said, I had to unfollow a bunch of influencers because if you're not gonna stand with me, why am I gonna support you? Why am I gonna give you your AdSense so you can continue to live your life when my life and my brother's lives are in danger? Next topic. The protests and why I'm upset I can't go to them. So, like I said in the beginning when I was reading my community tab, I kind of slightly added this in, but just because you're not seeing the protests on your timeline anymore doesn't mean they're gone. I know Philadelphia, I don't live there, I don't live in Philly, but I know they're still going strong with their protests. I know where I live, people are still organizing protests, people are still going to these protests. It's not dying out just because you're not seeing it on social media, which goes back to the fact that Black Lives Matter isn't a trend. Black Lives mattered yesterday, it matters today, and they will matter in the future, you know? This is not a little 1 week social media trend that just that can just die down. It can't just die down. When the cops who wrote a 4-page report, the ones who murdered Breonna Taylor wrote a 4-page report saying, not even giving any details on the killing of this woman. They fully entered her house and killed her, even though the suspect they were looking for was already in custody. Trayvon Martin, George Zimmerman, he had an auction for the gun that he used to kill Trayvon Martin. The reason I can't go to these protests is because my mom is immunocompromised. And even though there are these protests right now, COVID-19 is still a thing that exists. So because COVID-19 is still a thing, I cannot see myself forgiving myself ever if I accidentally gave my mom the virus when she's immunocompromised. I also have a very young brother, he's 8. Because of that, I can't protest. But just because you can't protest, maybe you're immunocompromised yourself, maybe you have an immunocompromised family member, just because you can't physically go to the protest doesn't mean you can't help amplify the voices of those who are at the protest. You can be posting on social media, you can be signing petitions, you can be donating. There's so many ways you can help Black Lives Matter that not being able to go to the protest isn't a valid excuse. And to the influencers, I'm just gonna keep calling out influencers because this has me hot. I'm hot. To the influencers that are going to these protests just so you can take these Instagram pictures, read the room. Read the room. Black Lives Matter is not an aesthetic. This is a movement that can't die down. It can't die out this time. It can't be a 2-week hashtag and that we're not gonna see any progress with that. Also, to the elected officials who I know aren't watching this video, I'm not even gonna talk about Trump because That man, anyways, but to the Democratic Party. Who told you to wear kente cloth and kneel in the nation's capital? Who told you that would solve? I understand going to the protest showing solidarity. But if you people are the ones in power, in place of power where you can change things, kneeling isn't enough. Actions. Like, you need to be bringing legislation in and having people vote for these things, you know? Especially because the Democrats have the majority in the House right now, right? Like, I need a little more from you. I need effort. That isn't just wearing kente cloth and kneeling. Anyways, my final statement on the whole protesting. If you think the protests are too violent now, I don't even want to know what will happen if Derek Chauvin, I shouldn't feel bad for mispronouncing this man's name, but like all those officers who stood by while Derek Chauvin snuffed the life out of George Floyd, if they don't get sentenced, good luck, America. That's all I have to say. Good luck, because we don't have the time. We don't have the energy. We don't have the patience for these murderers to get away with murder. They can't. America will be burned to the ground. Am I saying I'm doing that? No. But the anger that the Black community in America has faced for centuries will only be intensified if they're not properly charged. Period. Colin Kaepernick, I briefly touched on this when I talked about companies in the NFL. The nonsense of the NFL. I don't know, I feel like this video is all over the place, but I just need to talk. Okay, Colin Kaepernick. So when I was in high school, I'm going to be a sophomore in I'm getting old, I don't like that. But when I was a sophomore in high school, I was moved up to varsity basketball. And we had the seniors. They were very socially aware. So this was around the time Kaepernick was not standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. And because this was the beginning of it, there were very heated opinions about whether or not high school students should be allowed to kneel during the national anthem. First of all, I'm gonna say at my school, 99.9% of the people did not stand for the Pledge of Allegiance to begin with, which it's actually weird that they make us stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, because we're one of the only countries in this world that is a democracy. You hear the Pledge of Allegiance every morning. Everywhere you go, there are American flags. That's just weird. Like, in other countries, we don't do that. But anyways, that's a whole other discussion for another day. So, my basketball team, as I said, we had some pretty socially aware and active people. So me and the seniors and other people, like people who were other sophomores like me, we would kneel during the national anthem, because why are we gonna stand for a country that has never stood with us, right? That's the whole point. Why, like, protesting police brutality peacefully, the key word, peacefully, right? That's still, us not standing for the Pledge of Allegiance was apparently too much. Not the Pledge of Allegiance, the national anthem was apparently too radical. I don't even think anyone on the boys varsity team was allowed to kneel. Cheerleaders weren't allowed to kneel. Poms were not allowed to kneel. We would go to other schools, and I went to a pretty diverse school, as I think I've already said. But there are some schools in my county that are pretty white, you know? They're not that many minorities. So we would go to these other schools and they'd see us kneel, and the death looks these parents would give to us. I participated. I still don't stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I don't really stand for the national anthem. I've been advocating for this, and I'm happy that now it's getting traction, but is it getting traction for the right reasons? You know, are people actually care? That's my fear. Okay, now onto the victims of police brutality. I personally don't know anyone who has lost their life because a police officer couldn't do their job correctly. I don't think I am friends with anyone who has lost someone to police brutality, but just because it hasn't affected me on a personal level, doesn't mean those whose lives have been lost doesn't matter. Again, going back to the whole Black Lives Matter. I can't, because there are so many, which is part of the issue, which is part of why we're protesting. There are so many victims of police brutality that I can't even name all of them. So I'm gonna put their names around me on the screen as I talk about this topic, but I saw the video of George Floyd's daughter, and she was like, "Daddy changed the world." And I saw that video and I cried, because I'm a crybaby, but also it's just like, a 6-year-old shouldn't have to lose their father because of inadequate policing, of racism. And it's like, he changed the world, but did he have to lose his life for it? You know? Like, yes, George Floyd's murderers have been taken into custody. One of them got out on bail. If you donated to that man's bail fund, but there's so many people who still not receive justice. Like I said, Breonna Taylor, Kendrick Johnson? He was the one who they ruled his death a suicide, even though his body was rolled up in a mat, and he had organs missing. So I'm gonna link petitions, like I already said, I'm gonna link petitions down below for you to sign for those who have not received their justice yet. Because the only reason, as sad as this is, the only reason they decided to take the George Floyd case seriously is because it was video recorded. If his murder had not been recorded, he would have been another victim who not in the process of getting justice, because justice hasn't been served yet. These men have not been convicted. They've not been thrown in jail. They're simply on bail. So I'm gonna link petitions down below for victims of police brutality and racism, because like I said, Ahmaud Arbery wasn't killed by the police. He was simply jogging, and a father and a son decided he was robbing the neighborhood and killed him. And that was in February. And the only reason we know about this is because it was video recorded. So just think about all these people who lost their lives to the police where their killing was not video recorded. On to my final topic, defunding the police. Now, when you say defund the police, people get a little scared. They cannot comprehend why we would want to defund the police. So I'm gonna link John Oliver's video down below as well, because I feel like he explains this better than I do. But essentially, defunding the police isn't getting rid of the police force. I know there are people who want to completely dissolve the police force. I am not one of them. But defunding the police essentially means taking the money that the police have gotten, which is essentially militarize them. There is no reason that police need military grade equipment and weapons. What was it? I'm gonna have to put the actual number on. But like, isn't the budget in New York City for the police like $1.9 billion or something? There is no reason the police should be getting that much money. And because the police get that much money, other programs like public schools, hospitals, you know, all the other essential aspects of our communities are not getting the money they deserve and need to function. And as a result, because they're underfunded, they can't properly help the communities that they are a part of. You see the issue here? So when we say defund the police, we're not saying get rid of the police. We're saying there is no reason the police should have a budget that is 50 times more than public education. Which, that's just a number I threw out, but like, there's no reason the police should think they're the military. The police are here to protect and serve. They should not be able to whack you with their little sticks because they think they have so much power. I saw a post where in other countries, like in European countries, like before you can become a police, you need like 3 years of education in some countries. You need training. Like, in America, there's no reason why a barber should have more hours of training than a police officer. So yeah, that's essentially what defunding the police is. There was a city or a town in New Jersey, actually. I'll put the name up here, because I don't memorize these things, which I really should. But there was a city in New Jersey. They got rid of their police force. Brought them back, but they dissolved their police force. That's what the word I was looking for. They dissolved their police force and forced all the officers to reapply and put them through training and all of this, and the negative relationship the community had with the police force essentially dissipated. I agree with this. Police officers should have to reapply for their jobs and go through actual training on bias confirmation, on how to de-escalate situations, because half of these police officers don't know how to de-escalate situations, which results in people losing their lives over a parking ticket. There's no reason. There's absolutely no reason. Honestly, police officers should have to go to college. Police officers, obviously funded by the police commission or something, but like they should have to go to school on, what's the major called? I'll put it on the screen, but like they should have to go to school for this, because if you're being able to hold guns and you're responsible for protecting your communities, you should be able to do that job correctly. Without talking about like, I was scared for my life. You have a gun. Why are we killing unarmed people? They can't hurt you. How are they supposed to hurt you when you're the one with the gun? Even with the money they have, the police force was started as a slave catching patrol. The problem with the police runs deeper than the police. The problem with the police ultimately results in the foundation of white supremacy. And until we can address those issues with the police, this is gonna keep happening. Until we can get the police force to a state where they can do their jobs and de-escalate situations properly, there's gonna be more hashtags. There's gonna be hashtag justice for Blake. They're gonna keep coming back. And I'm gonna quickly bring up, even though this has been brought up, but like the whole, not all officers are bad. Like, it's just a few bad apples. Miss me with that. Miss me with that. There's just a few bad apples. If there are police officers who know there are police officers in their force that abuse their power and they do nothing to report them to the higher ups or stop them in the acts, because most police officers are with a partner. They're not lone officers just roaming the street. Like, they have a partner. If their partner is not calling them out on their BS and not reporting them, they're just as bad. They're what's the word? They're condoning the behavior. Just because you're not an officer who is killing unarmed suspects does not mean you're a good officer. So in conclusion, Black history is now. Black Lives Matter today, tomorrow, and forever. Defund the police. And as I've said multiple times in this video, there will be links to resources to not only further educate yourself, but also so you can help push the movement further. Black Lives Matter should not and cannot fizzle out. So that is my video. I finished the makeup. I don't think you guys even care, and I don't really care. It doesn't look that good, but yeah, I'll see you guys in my next video, and yeah, bye lovelies.